right, we're a little late, so let's get rolling. So let's, if you could, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks for coming tonight. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good. Anyone have a chance to look over the minutes Tina sent out? Saw they were sent out the other day. And pretty all-encompassing, as usual. I think, Tom, are you taking the notes tonight? Yes. All right. I see Tina down here, so we will have Tom take care of that. There she is. There's Tina. Yeah, Saved by the Bell. Yes. So, does anyone have any changes, corrections, addendums, additions, removals? Seeing none, we have a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Motion so presented. Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Thank you. Okay. That's right, you get to write them up. That's what Trish always says. If you object, you take better notes. So. All right, so we've got the treasurer's report, and we're going to split this up. Tom's going to do GHADA, and I'm going to do 4th of July, because he and I have been tag teaming on the 4th of July stuff. So, Tom?
Okay.
Everyone here is okay? We're not going to use the microphone for everyone can hear us.
I can speak up. Okay. Well, at our checking account, which is our only account now, for the present, its opening balance as of May 1st was $4,760.23. We added one contribution within still the fiscal year, 5 cents interest. And now the one thing, we did make a transfer from the 4th of July account to the checking account because right now we can't pay bills or write checks out of the savings account. So, so there's some movement just for that purpose. And so there was a transfer of $1,983.98. It's going to show us a larger balance because those checks have been written but not cleared. So, so that says we added $2,009.03 as credits. From that, we had the one check for Mark for business cards at $23.99. So it gives us an ending balance. The total is $67.24.29, but the actual working balance, once you subtract out the transfer, will be $4,785.28. Okay, that takes care of the current month. On the chair, if you don't have one in your hand, I do have a statement for the fiscal year 21-22. So it just gives you an idea how we did through the year. And we'll just drop to the, let's see here. So we'll just go with the opening balance was $1,269.66. Then cash brought in was $4,591.59. And the reason for that was we transferred all our balance in our savings account into our checking account. So we're working off that one account now. And so the cash out was $1,124.96. So we ended with an ending balance, which is our total funds of $4,736.29. You can see as you look up there with some of the, I'm not going to go through all the itemized charges, it just shows you our usual expenses. Two unusual ones, though, was the $275 fee that we paid to expedite getting our 501c3 activated again. And the other was we kind of doubled up a little. Post office box went way up, but then it was even worse because we actually had to do 2 payments, which covered 18 months. So that total is much higher than it usually is at $306. So, but otherwise, it's pretty typical as far as what our expenses are over the year. So, and I have there a little difference. I just kind of want an idea if we brought in more, if we spent more than we brought in. And this year, because of those extraordinary expenses, our difference is much larger than it typically is. We usually are pretty much, if we get our typical contributions, we are pretty much break even. So we're carrying that balance. Any comments on the annual report? Hearing none.
I'll take a motion to accept the annual budget report and the monthly report. This is the annual first. Annual, Luann with the motion, and Jeff with the second. Any other questions about the annual report? All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Aye. Approved, and those opposed. All right, and we'll also, while we're at it, we'll do the monthly report that Tom already went through, which is that's the last month before the year end is out. So actually, we don't have to do it. It's approved as part of the annual. So good enough. Enough voting for now. I'm just going to give a quick update on 4th of July. We're doing pretty well. We've gotten thank you to a couple of folks that brought checks up tonight. We're doing very well on donations coming in. We're still waiting for quite a few. And if everything holds the way it is, we should have everything covered in the next week and a half. I checked the mailbox today because I forgot there was a holiday, so there was nothing in the mailbox. I don't know how many other people did that, but they weren't working over the weekend to fill it, so tomorrow, which is usually slow, should have a lot more mail in. But there's some donations that are in the mail, and we have a lot more sponsors with their signs will be going up. We want to thank the Foskis. They've given us permission to use their property on Valley Road to display the signs on the fence, which is actually a lot easier than counting fence posts. Kenny Wynn said that the thing he hated the most was having to put in like 3 fence posts for every sign, and if anyone's ever run for office and done that, it is a nightmare to put them in. Plus, they didn't like them up on the 48-41 split. So it works out nice. We get a lot of traffic, and interestingly enough, a lot of businesses saw them and said, how do I get a sign up there? So we're picking up a lot more new sponsors, and appreciate that. And Bob, your sign's actually being made, because you were, I think, the first one to donate when we announced we were taking on the 4th of July back then, and we got your logo, I think, is on the way, and we should have a sign soon. So just check to make sure you got my email. If I get your good artwork, we should be all set. So again, thank you for everyone that's done that. Peg did that from Gateway, the HVA donated, we had a lot. And of course, we're going to have a lot of fire companies there, and we have gone through about $19,000, almost $20,000 that we've spent so far, because we had to recreate the website from scratch. And it was a work in progress. And thank you for everyone that sent us emails to say, hey, this link didn't work, or this one takes you to somewhere else, or the form didn't work. Everything is working. We're getting registration. If you want to be in the parade, your neighborhood, with a bunch of kids on bikes, we've got a couple of neighbors that want to do that. Just fill out the form so we know what to say, because I think Janet is going to once again be emceeing along with Mike Ramone. And rather than having them just wing it, we like to give them a little something when the people go by, or whatever goes by, to let them know about it. So we put that on the forms as well. And that's working out nicely, because everyone's putting in what they are. People that are running for office, people that are in office. Got a couple more today. So that works out nice. And we still have, I want to say, just about another 5,800, and we've got the fireworks covered. So we should be in good shape, because I believe there are at least 6 more businesses that have committed, and if they all deliver what they committed, we should have it covered. And all we have to cover then is the porta potties. I was joking with Janet how much a porta potty costs and how many we need, and it's a lot of money for porta potties. So we are in very good shape, considering it was a very late start this year to doing that. But the good news is next year we'll be well ahead of the game for doing this. And a lot of volunteers. There's still room for volunteers. We're going to try to do parade marshals this year. That way is folks tend to stop and talk. We're going to have people up and down the roadway on Old Lancaster Pike, and if they stop to talk and their vehicle stops, they're going to marshal them along. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be a test. We have a side deck of a cup of coffee as to whether this is going to work or if anyone's going to push back on it. But they're all church people that are going to be the marshals, so it'll be hysterical if somebody tries to give them a hard time. So it should be pretty interesting. But we'll see how it goes. Beyond that, fireworks are rain or shine. And I was again talking to Janet and Dan, and they've done this a lot longer than anyone else around. I didn't know this, but if you don't do the fireworks on the 4th of July, it costs another $6,500 to $7,500 to get another date. And you have to almost go through the whole process with the fire marshal again. So that's a big ticket to say, oh, it's raining and we're not going to do it, we'll wait. And I talked to Dan and he said, hey, you can shoot fireworks in the rain. It's a lot safer. So it's rain or shine. So let everybody know. The website does note that. So it's not going to be delayed unless it's like, what, a tornado or something. That'd be about the only thing that would stop it. So we'll see. Other than that, we're in good shape. I'm going to do this one real quick if I can. Yes, sir.
What time is the parade?
It's at 3 o'clock, and staging is, being the staging area at St. Mary's at the Assumption Church parking lot by 2:30. We're going to try to stagger the different things. We don't want like all the fire trucks going down at once and all the folks running for office or those in office. We're going to try to stagger them. Again, we'll see how that goes. I've not done that before, so we're going to have a lot of help if they're trying to do that. But they're going to close the roads. DelDOT is out, the state police, the county police. We'll have a very large police presence, and the mounted patrol will lead the parade off again, stop at the reviewing stand, and Janet was wise enough to ask me, hey, you got somebody who's singing the national anthem? And I went, didn't know about that. And we have a Conrad Senior that's going to do that. She's also going to be there for the relays first thing in the morning, 9:30 at the Piedmont Ball Field. So she'll do the national anthem there as well. So it should be a good day. We're back to what the Hockessin 4th of July was like pre-pandemic. And then we'll see how next year goes. I'm going to take some of your thunder, Pete, and read the Joe Lake announcement because we had an email about this. But I think you all have a copy of this, but this is something that Pete had talked about a couple of times before. A celebration of life for Joe Savar Lake. Joe Lake, as we all know him, is going to be held right here on the 28th at 7 p.m. And that's his birthday, for those who did not know. And the Lake family, Terry, is going to be presenting a special gift to the community. Still won't tell anybody what it is, but I'm pretty sure, based on what they've done in the past, it's going to be pretty interesting and something that's commemorates Joe's life and legacy to the Hockessin area. It is open to the public, so invite your friends. They put on a great event here at the hall for doing that, so I would expect to see a lot of people that knew Joe or saw him in passing or just kind of knew what he has done with the books he's written about the history of the area and his involvement for so many years and getting the Tweeds Tavern park up and running to where we see it today. So please spread the word through your neighborhoods, your businesses, and let's fill the hall on the 28th at 7 p.m. All right. Beyond that, Janet, you're up as elected officials. I don't believe there's anyone else here tonight. So we'll move into that.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Kilpatrick.
This is going to be very brief, because I feel like I've told you the same things over and over. And there's nothing new in legislation that is going to affect the Hockessin area. Usually, to like the Brandywine 100 and below the canal now seems to be the focus of everything going on. First of all, I just want to thank Darlene and Pete. Several of us were at the Juneteenth meeting, but the speakers, it was great. You guys did a really, really wonderful job. For those that did not see it, you missed something. And the family of the Beulah, Shirley Beulah, was here. And they came in from Colorado. They had heard about it the night before, got on a plane, came in. So they have the daughter, the granddaughter, and the great-granddaughter that were here. And I believe David Wilk got them into 107C the next day or the day after. I know he had set like a 2 o'clock appointment. So they were thrilled. Everybody that attended was thrilled. I think that was a really special night. So thank you to you guys. The money, the ARPA money coming in from the federal government. We've had our first tranche. The second one we're waiting for it to come. We are going to kind of follow the state in what they did last time. We're going to open a link on the website, and for groups that are nonprofits, businesses, there will be certain categories, and if you fit into those categories, you will have the ability to apply for a grant. So once we get that, I will send it over to Trish, and she can email it out if you would, and so everybody that is at GHADA or gets her emails will certainly have an idea when this is open and see if you fit into it. We have, I think this one is 104 million. So we have a lot of money in a lot of categories. In my mind, way too much money running around with all of the CARES and the ARPA, but it is what it is. So let's see if we can put it to good use. So if there's no questions, that's it for tonight. No sewers, no taxes, no nothing.
Any update on reassessment? How it's going, or?
It's moving. That's all I can say. I think last time we talked about it, that it's probably not going to be done in the tax year that they originally wanted. It will probably be in the next tax year, so it could be 24 or 25. And as you know, we saved money. We made money off of the CARES Act. We were able to backfill certain expenses that the county had for like all the testing sites, all of our employees that work those testing sites. We were able to backfill their salary and their prorated benefits. So we made money. We took $25 million that we made off of that, and we moved it over, so we will not be charging anybody no tax hikes as far as paying for it. If anybody doesn't understand the dynamics, I'm certainly willing to go through some of that. I can't say you will or you won't have a tax hike. Some of you will, some won't, and some are going to be right on. But this whole thing was an educational lawsuit, and this is the result of that. So we have no choice. Okay?
Anything else for Janet? Thank you as always.
You're welcome.
All right, 4th of July we already talked about. We're going to continue fundraising right up through the 4th and even beyond that to sort of get a jump on next year, because as you may have remembered, there was none going on the last couple of years. So there wasn't a whole lot of money left in the till, and not a whole lot of items left. So we're going to try to continue to do that and sort of make it so it's a little easier for next year, because we honestly expect fireworks are going to be more expensive next year based on everything else we've seen. We were able to renegotiate the whole price this year and sort of go back to what it was for the prior year. They agreed to do that, and I think it's because a lot of places have stopped doing fireworks as a result of the costs and everything that's gone on. So we're going to keep accepting donations and sponsorships from local businesses and appreciate all that they're doing. And we always say, you know, the day of it, we're not having food trucks or the beer garden this year, so shop local, go hit the stores. Harvest Market has lovely natural, or my wife always stops there and brings home things to surprise me with, and I'm always like, but I'm not a vegan. She brings me stuff anyway. It's always delicious, so stop and get things locally, take them to the ball field. The Public Works are going to have the trash cans, thanks to our council person and the Public Works department. They'll have trash cans there, so get your stuff locally. Go get some flowers at Peg's place over across the way. I know Peg's like, some plants and things. It'll be nice. It'll be a really fun event to have again. I look forward to the parade. I think it's going to be nice to see everybody out and about, and I'm sure the kids are looking for the candy. So again, if you've got a neighborhood that wants to participate, just get a group from your neighborhood, decorate the bikes, strollers, march in the parade, and just have a good time. It should be a lot of fun, and of course it's tax deductible too, so any donation, we are a 501c3, as Janet alluded to, any nonprofits can apply for grants. We made sure that our 501c3 was intact. That was one of the reasons we did that $250 expense to expedite that, and we found out we're actually a very high-level 501c3. We can get all sorts of grants and bequeaths and everything else, so the IRS actually bumped us up a few notches from where we used to be. Beyond that, I've got the land use report. Before we go into that, are any questions on 4th of July? It is on Monday the 4th. Yes, sir.
Does anybody know whether the Wilmington and Western is going to have their steam train there this year?
They are.
Okay.
That is coming in, and that was, and thank you for that, because the one sticky thing that the county police reminded of us, Dan knows about this, having been doing this a while. If you park in the Piedmont ball fields, don't park right up next to the tracks, because the train overhangs the rails. People forget that. They look at the rails and say, oh, I can park right up to the ballast stone. Not if you want to keep your car in one piece. So the train will be coming through. They'll run the fireworks train in the evening. I'm not sure the exact time. They'll probably be on the Wilmington Western site. But they are going to bring that into Hokess, and they drop people off usually just past back burner and all that, and then move the train back out of the way for the fireworks show. But they are coming in, so there should be a lot of folks coming in on the train for the 4th of July for the fireworks that evening. Thank you.
Mark, are they making a donation?
They already did already.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep, they did. Yep, they sent in one, along with the folks from Auburn Park. The NDF master plan out in Yorkland, everyone knows the sewer mains started last fall, November. And one thing, Artesian has been putting new water lines in. They stopped the last couple of weeks, so there has been no work going on, but the pipes are all laying there along Yorkland. If you go out there, there's metal plates and more traffic cones that you can shake a stick at all along the side of Yorkland. So we're just waiting. I guess they ran into a problem where they've got to excavate and cut in a little more. I talked to the guy from Artesian. Some of the plates were shifting after the heavy rains, so they came out and reset them for safety. But at this point, they're probably not going to meet their deadline, which was midsummer, which we're fast approaching, July 4th around the corner. So we'll just keep an eye on that. I pass by it about 6 times a day, so we'll keep an eye on it. Valley Road, Little Baltimore, that was the DelDOT widening program, going from Limestone Road up to the Chinese American Center. There was supposed to be another meeting in June, but I believe that's getting pushed because they haven't got all of their data put together. There was a engineering study there. They were putting together all the information from the different neighborhoods and businesses around the area. I hadn't seen a report. I don't know if you have, Janet, anything that's come through. But I was noticing that when I was writing this up, I said, well, June's almost over. They haven't set the meeting yet. So unless they do it for next week, that's pretty short notice because they typically give us a couple of weeks notice. So my guess is it's going to push into July or August for that. And that's sort of the all-encompassing report for the water runoff problems from Valley Road, the Hack, Lantana, Chinese American Center, my neighborhood, and others around that area. And someone asked in the other meeting, why did they stop where they stopped? And the engineer said, well, if you just kept expanding it, we'd have all of northern Delaware in this report and study. And you can't do that. It would just keep continuing on. So they picked natural flow areas from red clay and the tributaries that flow in for these areas where they have been having problems. And they said that that's not to say that there wouldn't be other future ones for other areas beyond that. But it's a pretty big watershed area that they picked. And so it should have, and again, they picked the high points first, because if you can stop it where it's accumulating up high and flowing in, that's going to help improve it. So I think, Mark, you brought up where it is in your neighborhoods, and they around there, that there were some water issues there. I think it was you that was talking about that, and that was one of the things that, hey, that would be a great one to do as the next step, sort of expand that area. So that's, hopefully will continue. 701 Valley Road, that's the former McGrellis Brick Ranch. I still haven't seen Mr. Setting doing anything. I don't know if he still has his leases. I've got calling him to find out if the medical offices are still on board to go there. But nothing has happened. They're just waiting for demolition. 520 Valley, that's the zone residential. It's kitty corner from Walgreens across on Valley and Limestone. Nothing happening there. The sign's been removed, so still for sale or lease, buildable for 10,000 square feet. Mark, also, were you remember the perk for the Superfund site? They moved everything from the dry cleaners on Sunrise. But now they put everything across the street. I noticed last week, the trucks were over in the Exxon lot, and they were opening up those monitoring wells. They were there for a couple of days. I didn't happen to notice it tonight on the way in, but it looks like they're moving to the other dry cleaner location and doing some additional testing. So if anyone hears anything or knows anything, I was going to go on the EPA site to see if they had put a update on that, because it's on the national priority list. But Mark, if that's something, if you happen to hear anything, 'cause I know you're pretty tuned in on that stuff, just let us know what you find out, if it's because there's been some more discovered or they're just doing their normal monitoring. That would be good to know. And speaking of that, that's the former Exxon and Richardson's Nursery. The redevelopment plan still has not been filed. This goes back to October of 19, before the pandemic, when everything was starting to move along and everything went to standstill. So it's advertised for lease and buildable, but I have not seen any new plans filed, and I believe, Janet, you haven't seen anything from the county. So I think DSM, Diamond State Management, has that advertised on the blue and white signs and elsewhere. Camerano Mushroom property, Valley Grove. I saw the first house is now fully framed. It's got most of the sheeting on it. They left one window out. I guess it gets hot. And they didn't want to have it totally closed in, but that's right across from where Becky lives on Valley Road. And they've started to excavate some of the other foundations. So home building is back in fashion. And same for Hokeston Station, the other Lagrellas property, former Lagrellas auction house site. I'm sure that once this project at Valley Grove gets moving along, they're in the process, everything was approved, they'll begin doing the work over there. And I think they also had to put in the new sewer line upgrades behind, so that's over where Trish is in Village of Manly, behind the Lagrellas auction house site.
Sewer
There were
line's
plans
25
back.
creek, so it's
Yeah.
back there. That should have been put in years ago.
That's what I was going to say, 'cause I remember all the concrete pipe sections were brought in, but they were never installed. That was supposed to have been installed years ago. So that was one of the things the county put in the plan to make sure that those get installed. And they have an easement through there. I think it's 11 or 15 foot across the back by the creek. Does that creek have a name, Janet?
Was that what?
That creek back there have a name? Or is it just a
Probably tributary to.
Mill Creek tributary? Okay. I didn't know. I know there's always they usually got a name for something on that, but I couldn't find one on the map. Harmony of Hokeston Senior Living up on McGovern Road. Tom, any updates on that? There's still site clearing?
There's more clearing, but they're getting closer to construction. They're leveling off when the building's completed.
Let us know when you see the concrete trucks come in. Western Living, that's 6042 and 6060 Limestone Road. We said at the last meeting, the Board of Adjustment approved the requested variances. I think every nearby neighbor except for one person supported it, and in the end, he was actually given a little bit of deference in that they would let him look at the landscape plans, which were his biggest concern, and that's moving forward, so we expect that to start seeing some activity and clearing in the coming months. Lantana Square, again, they're part of that whole stormwater engineering report study with the Little Baltimore Valley Road deal, so we're waiting for that. But they've done some improvements down there, which have been helping quite a bit, and they put in those 8x8 posts with reflectors on them. You have to have a tank to get through them, I think, these days. But and I put on, and this will be on your minutes, Tina put these on the last time, it's all of the projects in the 3rd District, which is pretty much Janet, and I think I took out most of the ones that were outside of the greater Hokeston area. There's not too many, but there's about 2 pages of projects that are filed since last year to this year, and it totals up to about 26 to 28 projects all over the 3rd District that Janet represents. So if you're ever interested, you can see that on the county website. You can just go underneath the parcel view, or not parcel view, the county website for land use, and you can pick plans by district, and it will punch up the list and see that. It's a great way to see everything that's going on, rather than just driving around looking for yellow signs. So that is everything on the land use report. Not a lot of activity other than the houses are being built and the sites are being cleared for the retirement, assisted living homes. Other than that, everything else is pretty much just moving along slow. Any questions or any comments? That's the land use report. And we're up to you, Pete, with the Historic Society. You and Darlene. I see Darlene's here. And again, I'm hoping, did you guys record the Juneteenth presentation?
It's on our YouTube channel.
Awesome. And,
Yes.
And that's under Hokeston
Historical Society. It'll pop right up and you'll see our logo.
On the way in, so I want to go and see that again because I wasn't able to attend. So thank you.
Yeah, it's 2 hours long.
Okay, great.
So yeah, it was great. We had 2 guest speakers. It was pretty informative, and it was basically on the Shirley Bula and the historic marker that we're going to be installing for Fred Bula's house. So it ties right into that whole discussion with 107C and the black versus white school buildings and things like that. That is really becoming a hot topic around here in this area. So after we get the historic marker installed, that kind of completes the heritage trail loop that goes between the Tweeds Tavern Park, and that marker is going to be installed way over by Limestone Road, and then the trail continues all the way down to School 107C. So there's some improvements that may be needed to be done there, and we were thinking about kind of getting the Park Service involved with that also. So that's the word that other people were trying to do is to have that kind of finalized a little bit through other funding. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, Darlene, you can give an update on the event, our Juneteenth event.
GP.
Am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're the one who you arranged the entire event.
We had 2 speakers.
I'm going to give you this, Darlene, because you got your mask on, which will make it a little harder to hear. So.
I can take it off, but I can also. We had 2 speakers. One of them was a specialist on Shirley Bula, and I wanted to get him because I've listened to him. That was Dr. Bradley Skelcher from Delaware State University. He's got a lot of credentials there. He retired emeritus, and he was pretty good. He brought in his PowerPoint and gave us a good history of the situation that happened in Brown versus Board of Education. And secondly, we had an interesting speaker, and I think it was, wasn't it your mom that suggested? Yeah, his mother, they live in North Wales, and they suggested that we get Sonny Knox. Sonny Knox is a person who went to school with Shirley Bula. And he was really good. He got up there. He told just different situations about what happened with Shirley Bula, and he explained many things that other people did not understand. And it was interesting because I've had people here come up to me and say, Darlene, it was really good, like what you did, the Juneteenth, you and Pete, was very good. I understand Juneteenth a lot better now. And yeah, that was about it. At the end, we had Professor David Wilkes came up and said a couple things about 107C and Shirley Bula and Brown versus Board of Education. That was very interesting. I thought it was very interesting. Any questions? Okay, well, Bill.
I guess I'm being handed the microphone to for the Hokeston Business Association meeting. Our meeting is tomorrow night at 6:30. We're graciously thankful to the folks from the Hokeston Historical Society because we are now meeting at the Lamborn Library. And so our meeting tomorrow is at 6:30. We've scheduled a roundtable discussion with business members, and hopefully we'll have good attendance.
Well, we are flying through the agenda because it's a sunny summer night. Yes, sir, Ed.
For anybody who may not have been at the this lecture the other night that Darlene was talking about. It bears note that this school here has been enrolled in the National Park Service as a national park place for Delaware, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's, Jan, you were at that, I believe, a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, when they did the historic marker placement. And we had just about everybody come out. That was before they even had a plan to rebuild it, get it back in shape. Does anyone, and I'll ask Janet, do you know what the status is of the repairs and rebuilding they've been doing?
They probably, I'm guessing, they're going well. And they should probably have been completed by the end of the summer. When Darlene talked about Sonny Knotts, he is one of what? We have 3 surviving classmates that have gone to that school. So as this opens up, one of the pushes is that we want those 3 students to be able to walk back through that door. And for those of you that don't know Sonny Knotts, he is a 92-year-old vivacious person. He has participated in the Hockessin 4th of July parade since day 1. He is not going to be able to come this year. They didn't know we were having the parade, and they have other commitments, but he volunteers a day a week at Del Castle. Just a super, super person, and my hope is that they all stay healthy and can walk back through that door. But it should be done and ready to open probably on a limited basis by the beginning of September.
Thank you. Okay, that runs through the agenda for tonight, and all we have is old business and new business. Is there any old business that anyone has, something that's been going on or nagging? Any new business? Yes?
My name is Lorene Benson, and I live right across from the Hockessin Soccer Club. Was a farm. The county purchased it, and the Hockessin Soccer Club leases it, so it's county land. We've tried to be good neighbors with the Hockessin Soccer Club over the years. We've had our disagreements. Each time a new administration comes in, we have to work with them, explain that this is a residential neighborhood. This whole neighborhood is not just for the soccer club. Once again, their alarm went off at 6 this morning. The fire company had to be dispatched through 911 because the alarm company called 911. So Hockessin Fire Company was there. The building was locked. They had to shimmy the door open. They found the alarm. They did not have access to the code to turn the alarm off. The alarm company called the 5 people whose names were on the list. None of those people responded. Hockessin Fire Company, after I guess about a half hour, they left because they couldn't do anything. So here they were, taken away from whatever else needed to be done, or maybe they were sleeping. 7:30 in the morning, because they have soccer camp, somebody arrived to open up the building, and that's when the alarm was turned off. So my neighbor and I did go over and talk to Tom at the Hockessin Soccer Club. We were assured this won't happen again. This is probably the 8th time in the last 8 years that this has occurred with the alarm.
And they promised us the same thing.
Each time. So I did talk to Janet. This is a residential neighborhood. They're in a residential neighborhood, and they're not being good guests. And I'm sure if any of the people on the board of the Hockessin Soccer Club had to listen to that alarm for an hour and a half, they would not be happy either. So I just want to let you know that the people in Murphy Lane, Evanston Road, are not real pleased with the soccer club in general. We try and work with them, but they overstep their boundaries this morning.
Doesn't the county assess them a citation for a false alarm?
I was asking about that. It has to be so many within a specific period of time.
It's 3 false alarms. Dan thinks it's 6 months. I don't remember what it was within 6 months, and then you get fined.
But the worst part is the stupid thing went on for an hour and a half with nobody able to shut it off. So here we are all woken up in the middle of the morning.
Well, it's happened in the middle of the night
And
before.
it's happened in the middle of the night. It's ridiculous.
So I did call 911 dispatch, but they couldn't give me any information because they can't give me the name of the alarm company for me to call the alarm company because there's some kind of rule for that. So just want you to know that in your neighborhood, if an alarm went off for an hour and a half, you would not be pleased with the entity that caused that problem either.
What we would like to see is the Hocassin Soccer Club needs to give the members of our community, our residential area that surrounds this, which is on Grant Avenue and Murphy Lane, the phone numbers to contact these people and get somebody to come and turn this thing off when it goes off. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Or give the Hocassin Fire Company the code.
Yes.
So they can go in and
Well,
investigate.
Which would have been
it all.
common sense.
I don't understand why they don't have it in the first place. That, you would think that's,
No, it's security issues.
I know.
If you give it to one, everyone's got it. We'll all
I
end
know,
up with it.
yeah.
Well, anybody can get in there now because the door was jimmied open unless they fixed it since this
They don't need
morning.
any extra soccer balls?
No?
But no, but on a serious note, that's something where I would suggest at least, just, we had this happen in my neighborhood with someone who travels quite a bit, and they're usually gone for 2 months at a time, and then in the winter for a lot longer, and their alarm went off, and it went off at 3 a.m., and it didn't go off until the battery ran out at 6 a.m.
Okay, so you
So,
understand, yeah.
That was one of, and it's, theirs was really good, it was loud, it got everybody up, but what they did is they gave the code to the 2 nearest neighbors, and they can change the codes every time they want, so what they do is every time they're gone, they give them an access code that will turn it off.
Well, that's what they should do with us, is give us the access, because we live right across the street from them.
Yeah, as long as you make sure it's not somebody breaking in.
Yeah.
Right.
It's something you can ask, I would definitely ask you to say, hey, if you're okay with it,
I think the fire company would be a good answer.
Yeah.
But they were standing there, watch the poor guys just standing, they didn't know what to do. And they couldn't turn it off.
they probably didn't want to hit it with an axe or something.
I would have been tempted.
All right, well,
Thank you.
all right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I noticed that the Hocassin Village sign was put back up by the Hocassin bookshelf.
Oh.
Yeah, it actually was. It was done by our friend over at Primus. He had decided with the 4th of July coming up, and I kind of was chuckling over that. I said, geez, I wish you told me. I would have given you a hand. But he went up and put in the footings and got the hardware to remount it and had the sign on it. He said, I just got tired of seeing it, so on your way home tonight, pick up a pizza from Primus in appreciation for having him take care of that. But yeah, he did that, and he just said, everyone's going to be coming in the 4th of July, and it just didn't look very nice to have that sign laying there. And I know Janet and I have talked about it with others about, it's not in a great spot because, one, it got hit by a car once before, and I think this last time it was the snow off the snowplow that knocked it off. So it really needs to have a better spot just a little further off the road so it can survive not only car strikes, but having it so far away they can't hit it, but so that the snow coming off the snow plows at 40 miles an hour don't snap it off the base. So,
And the problem, after it was hit with the car, in order for the insurance to cover it, it had to be put back in the same spot.
Yep.
DelDOT knows that it is not a great spot for it to be, but it was an $11,000 insurance claim, so this is what we have.
Kevin decided on his own. He just said, I just decided I'm going up there and doing it, so we did it. So thanks to Kevin Barrett over at Primus for tackling that one. The other one by the Piedmont Ball Fields, by the way, has been long gone because I fixed it twice back when Ken Murphy still had the Hocassin Planning Partnership, but the last time it was hit, it was in so many pieces, chunks were missing. So I said, you got to get a new sign. It can't be repaired anymore. It's foam core, and you can only put that stuff together so many times. And with all the pieces missing, it was unrepairable. So that one's been, I think, it was 3 different times, and whoever is over there, they took the posts out. But the solar setup is still there for the lights. The lights are gone, but the solar system is still there on pole. So that might be another one that maybe, and we've been asking, and I don't know, Janet, you always have a wealth of information, but I've been trying to find the person at Delta that can give us the permission to move it and has the key to the box so we can disconnect the 12-volt batteries that are in there. So if you ever have in your Rolodex of info,
I can get you that.
thank you. All right. Anything else for new or old business? Trish?
If anybody would like to receive the emails that I send out for the, I send out the agenda to people. I send miscellaneous things that Janet sends me and other people I send out. And we've decided to start sending out the approved minutes. It's not the minutes from the meeting tonight, but I'll send out the minutes from last month's meeting. And if you would like to get on the email list and you're not on the email list, please see me and give me your email.
All right. Last call. Yes, sir, Ed.
I don't know if anybody knows the little local history, the caboose that was put at the intersection of Valley Road and Evanston Road. You've probably seen that out there. It has the coachman standing in the back. A month or so ago, the coachman was beheaded. I talked to the homeowner who lived in the corner lot there. They replaced the head with some kind of like a fox head or something for a while. Evidently, word went out on this local email group from the Hockessin area. What's it called?
Next door.
Okay, and evidently word went out on that, and a week later, the head showed up sitting back in their front yard. So they went and put the head back on it, and interesting.
And it was in today's paper, too. It's on the online edition. It was one of the 14 unique roadside attractions in Delaware.
Oh, really?
And it had a history because that caboose, and I can't remember what the ARC, but I thought that stood for something else, but it's something railroad company. And that caboose was owned by, according to the tale, Brian Woodcock, who was a member of the Wilmington and Western and the Historic Society, and he owned it for years, and it was kept over across the way, and I guess John Margulis decided he had to have a caboose, and purchased it, and had it restored and painted, and moved over there. I remember I have videos of them lifting it with the B&F wreckers, 2 giant rotator wreckers, picking that thing up and swinging it off the Wilmington Western tracks and setting it on that little stretch of track that they put in there with the ballast. And that was quite a production. People were stopping on Valley Road like, what is going on here? They're lifting this caboose and swinging it over. So whoever bought the house ended up buying the caboose as well.
His
So-
son, or his son.
One of McGrell's sons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so he's got the house and the caboose, but yeah, so it was on the top part of the photo. If you went online, or the News Journal Online, it showed the close-up of the conductor with his head and face, and the whole caboose had that on it. So, another Hockessin oddity. All right, well, seeing any more? Yes, Pete?
Just one quick update on the Burt Robinson house, which is right at Valley Road in Evanston. The Historic Review Board may be making a decision on that property tomorrow at their meeting at 5:00 p.m., and that's virtual. So everybody can attend, and sometimes those get a little comical with what they're trying to save and what they're recommending. But this one's kind of turning into more of an issue than it should be with some aspects. But typically there's supposed to be a lot of landscaping that's included with these plans, and they're opting to not have as much landscaping in order to see some of the historic aspects of the building. So it kind of goes back and forth where the developer was willing to put in bushes and trees, and they're saying, well, actually we want less bushes and trees now, and a walking path through there so that people can see the historic spigot where the children were drinking water from. So, you know, there's different people that have different ideas on the Historic Review Board, and so we'll see how that goes. But that should be either at least discussed, and I think it's the public discussion tomorrow. So
I was
every,
going to ask you if it was the business meeting or if it was the public comment.
yeah, I think that the last meeting on I think it was the 3rd, at the beginning of this month was the business meeting. So this is where people can actually comment on, your thoughts on that building. But I think the house itself is definitely worthy of being saved, and they are planning on doing that. But the spigot and the barn are now being debated as to how historically significant they are, and whether the developer should have to restore them also.
And I know Pete was on with the other meeting I was on there, and it was like we were saying, that little barn really is kindling at this point. There's nothing significant about it that could be saved. And we talked about the well, and it would be nice to see the well, because that style of well, there's not many left around here. So, and I think you can go on the county's website and get the Zoom link meeting for that, and the Historic Review Board.
It's really hard to find. They have it kind of hidden down in the agenda. So you have to go into the PDF version of the agenda, and then there is a Zoom link for it from there. But it's not prominently displayed on their website. It does take a little bit of work to find it. But.
And I will tell you that I had a discussion with the people in the land use department a couple of days ago about this. And one of the reasons that the barn is being considered at this point to be saved is because of a report done from the University of Delaware, and they talked about the spigot being at the barn. It was not on the barn. So I said, well, if they were going to get nitpicky, then are we saying, because the house is insignificant in the Brown versus Board issue. Nobody ever went into the house. And I went, well, then can we take the house down and just somehow keep the barn? I said, can we talk about saving the wall that you think is important? Because the barn's going to fall down. The barn isn't even totally historic. It's divided. Half the floor is dirt, half the floor is concrete. The ceilings come in at different angles because it was an add-on. And I am definitely against having a path put on there. We can put a marker up there, but this is going to be a private residence to somebody. And I can guarantee that there is nobody in this room that is going to ever want a pathway going onto their property for anybody to walk on and see. So if this is going to be saved, we're going to be having some discussion on how visible that's really going to be, or if it's something that could be moved over to Tweed's Tavern, or something, because there's nobody that's going to buy that house and keep that house up if there is a path that is open to the public.
Janet?
Yeah.
That barn looks exactly like it was made by the exact same carpenters that made my barn. And our barn is made out of cypress. And the cypress from that barn came from the trap pond cypress swamp.
Right.
And that was like the northernmost cypress swamp in the country. There is some historic value to it. Now, I don't know if that barn itself is made out of cypress the way yours is, but
I
there
think
is.
part of it is, am I correct from the report, is part of it cypress?
It's right here. I have the whole report. If you're willing to look through it, I'm not sure off the top of my
Yeah, I
head.
thought there was something
But,
mentioned.
I mean,
Right.
it might be interesting to find that out.
Right. Well, there was a very comprehensive study that was done through the University of Delaware, and that's basically what the developer was going on when he said, I have no problem saving the house, but when they did a structural assessment of the barn, it's two sections, two different eras, it seemed to be. Like there was a barn, and then there was an addition.
That's what most of them were like,
Yeah.
They had the original barn that they kept their horse and buggy in.
Right.
And then somewhere in the 30s, 40s, 50s,
Right.
somebody added a concrete
Right. And
addition to it to make it a
and I
two-car
don't,
garage.
right, and I don't have a problem with any of that being saved. I mean, it has to be renovated, it has to be saved, but I don't have a problem with any of that being saved. I do have a problem if somebody from the county thinks that somebody's private property should have a public access going through it. I mean, that's basically an easement, and somebody needs to be
Yeah.
paid if that's going to be the case, because that opens it up as public parkland, and that makes a big difference in, even if it was your house, my house, if we were buying insurance on that house, that makes a big difference in who's allowed just to go onto that property, and what if they get hurt when they're on that property?
I just heard multiple equal liability.
Yes.
There's a lot of liability with
Yeah,
walking through
yeah.
property.
So, we have a couple council people that think that all of this should be happening, and I have limits of where some of these things should be to save the historic. I have no problem with saving the historic, but within certain limits.
All right.
And they were willing to move the spigot to a more, up near the sidewalk area, or have it displayed where there could be a sign for the public to see it. So that kind of wasn't as liked by the Historic Review Board. They wanted it kind of kept and saved in the exact location where it is.
Remind them Tweed's Tavern wasn't where it is now either.
Exactly.
And it was moved because it was better to have it off of a busy roadway than to have it where it was on Limestone. So, yeah, they could move the spigot and be a whole lot. Here's the spigot that was 20 feet away that was originally here.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should go online tomorrow night? Or
5 o'clock
5 o'clock.
5
tomorrow.
o'clock?
Yep.
All right.
HRB.
Yep.
Give them your 2.5 cents for the full quarter's worth, so. All right, last call for new business, old business, or good of the order. Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Thank you very much. Oh, we're off for the summer break, so see you in September. No meeting in July or August unless Doomsday occurs. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
I'm trying to